Call Yisrael. Moshe called to all of Yisrael. Now remember, this is 40 years, about 40 years after the Jews left Egypt. So this is a very different, it's almost an entirely different generation than the one that left Egypt. This is not the same Yisrael that we've had till now. It's a very different group of people. Moshe called to all of Yisrael. And he said to them, Shema Yisrael as a chukim as a mishpatim. Here, Yisrael, the chukim, which are normally translated as decrees, and the mishpatim, the judgments, asher anoichi doiver ba'aznechem hayom, that I speak in your ears today. Ulamadatam, you shall learn them, ushmartem la'asoisam, and you should be careful to perform them. So this sounds very familiar. This is the old story, right? Moshe is telling them, okay, I'm going to tell you some halacha, some laws, but they're not just here to have a shir on. The point is you're supposed to learn them, and then once you learn them, you're supposed to actually do them. You're supposed to keep them, right? That's the introduction. Pasuk Beis. Hashem Elokeinu karas imanu bris b'chorev. Hashem, our God, cut with us a bris. Now, bris doesn't mean a bris milah. You know what bris actually means? Who knows what the word bris means?
Covenant.
Yeah, a covenant, right? An agreement, right?
Yeah.
So he cut an agreement with us at Chorev. Chorev is another name for Sinai. So he's telling them, okay, right? Because remember, these people here, at least in a physical sense, did not experience Har Sinai. They weren't there. These are the children, right? So they were a lot of them weren't there. So he's telling them, okay, now we're going to talk about some important history, right? Hashem, our God, cut with us a bris at Har Sinai. And he says, it's probably as important to us as it is to them. It wasn't merely with our forefathers that Hashem made this agreement. Ki itanu, rather it was with us.
The bris, the word of bris is mean probably what in the circumstances, but it mean what we have union between us and Hashem.
It's more than just a union, you're right, but it's a union of commitment.
Yeah.
It's a union of commitment. That, well, I have to do something for you, you have to do something for me. We're obligated to each other.
And in this case, who doesn't have a bris, natural bris, he's not have commitment with Hashem.
Well, that's not necessarily that is one bris. It's a very important bris, and certainly one should make sure to have a bris. But as you know from where you came from, many people did not know about a bris at all, and they were afraid to have a bris. Right, and I'm sure you weren't the only one. There are some people who still haven't had. They're still afraid to have one because of in Soviet Union it was illegal to have a bris milah. There was a time where you can get killed for that, for having a bris milah. Correct? There was such a time. There was a time you could it was under penalty of death. So yeah, so it's something to be grateful that here in America it's not a big deal. You know, all you gotta do is call up a moil. That's about as much of a deal as it is. But back then it was really, not to mention people who didn't have it when they were younger had to first get it when they were older. Mm-hmm. That also didn't make it so simple. Mm-hmm. And and especially if you're doing it over there when you were older, I think a lot of times the medical facilities for these things are very, very primitive. You were doing it clandestinely undercover, so you weren't getting the luxury of anesthesia and stuff like that. Let's keep that in mind. So we should definitely should recognize the tremendous difficulties people went through to have the bris milah. It's no simple thing at all. No simple thing at all. Okay. So he says Hashem. So he says it wasn't just merely with us that Hashem made this agreement, right? This two-sided agreement. Rather, with us, anachnu, we, elapoi, these who are here, hayon, today, kulanu chayim, all of us that are alive. So Moshe is stressing here that this is not just an interesting piece of history. This is something which applies to us today. Mm-hmm. And just on a side point. Just gonna mention, just a drop off topic here. We'll come right back. Make sure I come back on topic. I don't get off topic here. But today in the firm world we have a term called kiruv. Mm-hmm. Kiruv, right? Kiruv really means bringing close, but it's known as outreach. Okay, Kirav Rechorka, bring close those who are far. So one can raise, right, that there's a movement today, again, there are many different variations of it, but a movement which tries to bring back those Jews who are unaware of where they come from. Right? It's this Kiruv. You have Kiruv being done in Russia today, in the Ukraine. You have Kiruv being done here in the United States, in Israel. If you look at Chabad, it's all over. It's international. There's nowhere. Just one tangent within a tangent, and then we're gonna get back on the first tangent, and then we're gonna get back onto track. I just can't. I can't not relate this story. Just a fantastic story. So I was told recently that there was a man who was, I think he was a businessman of some sort, and his business took him through Manhattan on a regular, I think daily. He went through on the subway in New York, and every day he'd get off at Manhattan, and there was another man there who had business, the local, I don't know if he's a shliach or what, Lubavitcher Bacher, who was there to also had business there, but his business was getting people to put on tefillin. So every day he would ask the fellow, "Oh, you're Jewish? Or just ask him, we'd like to put on tefillin." And I think this is a tough nut to crack. He wouldn't even talk to him. He ignored him. It went on for, I think, a couple of years. And then a couple more years went by, and he didn't take that route on the train, this businessman. Fast forward a few more years, and maybe off of my time. Might not have been so many years. I'm not exactly sure. Either way, it was a significant lapse of time. He came back, and he comes back on the same train. Lo and behold, same kids there. Or maybe he's not a kid anymore, with the tefillin. And sure enough, he starts up with him. He's, we'd like to put on tefillin today. So now our businessman made the ultimate mistake. You know what that was?
Yes.
Not even that. Before that, he talked to him. So he told him, he said, "You must be really bad at your job." Of course, he meant because your job is to put on tefillin, and you've been doing this for years, and I haven't done it. So the boy said back to him, he said, "Depends what my job is." He said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, if my job is getting you to put on tefillin, you're right, I'm pretty lousy. But my job, just so you know, is not that. My job is to remind you that you're Jewish." And of course, just to ruin the story entirely, the guy went and put on tefillin after that. So, anyway, but take a point over here. Why do we do this? Right? We know that, for example, as far as conversion is concerned, right? Gerim, we're not very into accepting gerim, right? We don't. If you know any converts, the rabbis give them a hard time. It takes a long time. They try and push them off, and then they have to move into the community and do all kinds of things. It takes a long time. There are places where even after they convert, won't give them a certificate for like the first year. They give them a lot of difficulty. So obviously we're not into missionizing and stuff like that. So the question is, why is Kiruv, outreach people are unaffiliated and trying to bug them? I'm not saying necessarily put on tefillin, but to invite them for Shabbos, get to come. Why is that not missionizing? Why is that different?
Because they're Jewish. Because they're Jewish.
This. Right, but does everyone feel correct? They're Jewish.
Jewish.
That is a big difference, right? But this approach that we're going to try and net them and get them to come back, right? I don't know if anyone ever was bothered by this, but in case anyone is, I'd like to share something about it. But is anyone bothered by this? That why do we do this exactly? Try and net these people to come back in. Why is that different than missionizing? I'm not saying that it's the same, but in case anyone ever was bothered by this, so I'll just say an interesting mashal, interesting parable I once heard to describe this. So suppose that I have a good friend who devoted his entire life to making sure that people don't smoke, right? His whole life. Don't tell me if you smoke. I don't want to know. But
I have example. Churchill.
Yes.
Churchill smoked all his life.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Cigar. You're right.
Not cigar.
Cigar. Cigars are worse than they smell worse than cigarettes.
He lived around 90 years.
Yes.
And
that's
he
true.
smoked.
Yeah.
What
I didn't say. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. I mean, to smoke just because he lived a long life.
Not everybody.
But in any case, that's right. So in any case, that's right. So suppose I have a good friend who spent his whole life, right, lecturing, he spent his personal money on advertising people shouldn't smoke, right? He dedicated his life to that. Then, right, he passes on. Now I know his grandson, and his grandson is a chain smoker. He smokes, right? He smokes the whole day. right? So I have a couple of options, right? I see him smoke one day, right? I see obviously he's related to whatever it is, right? So let's stop for a second. Let's say you were in my place, right? And you know this grandson of a man who dedicated his whole life to not smoking, and the grandson has no idea who his grandfather was. He has no idea, doesn't know, right? And I see him smoking. So what would you do if you saw him smoking?
Oh,
What would
I do?
Yeah, what would everyone here do if you saw this young man smoking?
I'd yell at him.
You'd yell at him.
Yeah, tell him it's been proven it's very dangerous to your health and cuts years off your life.
But why him? Why him more than anybody else in the street that I see smoking? Why would I go to?
He's got good genes.
Good genes, okay. First of all, let's ask that. Is there any difference? Do you think that you'd be motivated to speak to him more than any other person on the street who's smoking? Would it bother you more if you saw him smoking?
Yeah, because he's being
Hold
warned.
on.
He's being warned.
You might be because of who his grandfather was.
And why?
Yeah.
He didn't know his grandfather.
Because
He didn't know him.
He didn't know, but maybe there will be somebody who's